Welcome to No Gate Fees with Brent Martineau on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network.
Hey, welcome into the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network studios. Brent Martineau along with Jason Hamby. Oh, it's been a busy week around here from Jacksonville to Indianapolis and back, a new GM. But we're not talking about the Jags. This show, No Gate Fees, presented by Nimnick Buick GMC, Baker's Sports, Perfect Rack Billiards. We talk some ball, baseball, and softball in the area. And also on a broader level, we talk about youth sports and some of the topics that are not just involved in baseball and softball, and that's going to be the thing today. One of the questions, so if you're not familiar with our show, especially this season, which is season, I don't know, 3 maybe season 3, and it's like one long day in my life, one long day, but I do think it's season 3, and we put a one sheet out to the coaches in the area. If you haven't filled those out, get them in. And if we haven't hit you up for it, shame on us and let us know. So you can be a part of the conversation. But we did have feedback from coaches about what topic could we talk about. And I didn't expect this one to come in during like the high school world. But it did happen, and it was burnout. Is burnout a real thing? The coach topic that we'll get into, and this is what one of the softball coaches said. I don't know if they want their names linked to these topics or not, so I won't ask or I won't say. But you know who you are. Says, here's my thought, and I'm sure it has come up before. How do you address burnout? How to keep the kids that have been playing for so long interested all the way through high school? So many good athletes seem to lose interest and quit before high school or midway through. There are very few that have the burning desire to keep playing. Also, how do we bring back the idea of playing more than one sport? In my opinion, there's a fear factor that if they stray away from their primary sport or even one season to do something else, they will be passed up. Growing up, we played more than one sport, which helped with being well-rounded, using multiple muscle groups. And for me, it kept my love for softball true, the desire and fire to work on my own as well to be super pumped up for my season. So I like that. And that's probably 2 different topics. I think the 3-sport factor is in here, but we're going to talk a little bit more about burnout because at the same time I got this, I saw an interesting post on social media that kind of got me thinking a little bit more. And I've had thoughts on this topic for a long time anyway, and that's why I kind of changed it to what can you do about it, but is it real? Is burnout a real thing? So we'll get into that. We got our High Five Power Polls in baseball, softball. We split them up in baseball, by the way, in the public school, private school round. Lee Geiger from Inglewood High School off to a nice start. He's going to join us in just a bit. Had one of the best games of the season last night. He kind of was on the losing end of it against Bowles. Still a good one. We'll talk about it and appreciate him joining us in a bit. We also will have our Committed to the Uncommitted. I'll give you a little hint. It's coming from Mandarin High School today on the baseball side. And we invite you to send us your nominees for Coach of the Week. $100 gift card to Perfect Rack Billiards. Thanks to those guys for helping out. We really like that. And let's try to honor some of the coaches in the area, baseball and softball. We are going to end up going baseball back-to-back because we have a little bit more runway with the season since softball just got going last week, but we will even it out. So, hey, send in your fellow coaches. Make sure we're not missing anybody. My big fear, I just told Hamby this. That's Jason Hamby, by the way. And I just told him this before the show. My big fear in this show is we just cover certain schools and areas. And I want to really, we want to spread it out, but we don't know everything going on. We don't claim to know everything going on. So if you have good story, good coaches, good game, good nominees for Coach of the Week, but also for Committed to the Uncommitted, juniors and seniors who are under-recruited, like seriously under-recruited, not like, yeah, I think they got 4 offers, but I really think they could do better. We don't want that one. We want under-recruited seniors first, and then if they dip into the juniors because of the spring sports season, that's okay. That's our scholarship program presented by Nimnick Buick GMC. And by the way, we're going to hand out our football scholarship March 24th. We'll be live on that Monday with our Brent and Austin show from Nimnick Buick GMC on Phillips Highway. So look forward to that. That's always a fun time. All right, Brent Martineau, Jason Hamby. Before we get into the burnout real quick, we got to catch up with Covenant, the Warriors. How are they doing? Give us an update on the first-year team that Hamby is coaching.
We're balling, Brent. We're balling right now. 56-1 run differential last week. 4-0.
Who set this schedule? Who set this schedule?
Well, Brent, look. You know, when you have a first-year program and all the connotations that normally come with that on a what you would assume would come with that, there's not a whole lot of incentive for us, maybe some of the better teams to schedule you because, for obvious reasons. We're not that, though. But we're about to get some real games coming up. We play UC tomorrow night, so that'll be a huge challenge.
Good one.
So we're interested to see what our guys can do.
All right, that'll be a good one to watch, and UC, a good team. They're good this year. We've got some people beating each other up early in the year.
I want to play a 7-inning game, to be honest with you.
I get that. Don't get a little snotty on the show here.
I'm not. I just want to see our guys have to play 7 full innings to win a baseball game.
Because every public school guy out there right now saying, yeah, of course it's easy to be like that at a private school. Yeah, we'll get into that a little bit later. Don't worry. Grit your teeth, public school guys. I get it. We'll talk more about that. We did have a lot of that as feedback too. Private school, public school. Is the gap getting bigger? We've mentioned it a couple of times. That's a topic on the show. Keep the topics coming though. We got a bunch of youth sports topics, and it doesn't have to be just baseball, softball. I'm okay with that too. Like last week, we went pitching, right, in baseball and softball, very specific to those sports. All right, we did have a great game last night, Inglewood and Bowles. Ironically, Mike Boswell, who's the topic of conversation on this week's episode After the Game with Josh Baker and Baker Sports. That plays right after this show, by the way, on actionsportsjacks.com. And it's one of the favorite shows that we do. So how did Boz get to the point he is now? Well, part of that was Inglewood. And so he was playing his former school where he won a state championship. And, man, the Rams impressed me, taking it to 12 innings before they lost 2-1. And Coach Geiger is going to join us on that front in just a little bit. We've had some people.
We had a lot of good games last night.
Yeah, what else did we have? I was watching some of them.
Baldwin beat UC 3-2. That's a great ball game.
Really good. Baldwin continues to do that too, right? Had a big 9-8 win. We'll get Baldwin on the show sooner or later, but we've been pumping them up a little bit.
Yeah,
they're a good team, and that's a nice win over UC. To your point.
Beach Side with their first dub of the season.
The Barracudas.
Let's go.
My text chain looks a little bit better here on a Wednesday than it did on Monday.
Hey, over St. Joe's Academy, 1-0. I've been told that's the way they're going to have to win a lot of ball games this year.
Well, not only that, as I think that's the way a lot of teams are going to have to win this year. I don't know if offense in high school sports, in baseball usually isn't crazy anyway, but I think specifically this year, I think you're going to get more of that. But hey, don't sleep on Eric Hurley's team down there at St. Joe's.
Yeah.
They built a nice program. I love that place to play too. It's always a fun place to play down there. And so that's a good win. And I think that went 9 innings. I think that went into extra innings. Now, as I told Smitty, I said, listen, we'll talk about putting the ball in play later, but congrats on the win. And I'd say there were 34 Ks in that game.
Are you serious?
Not just by but combined 34 Ks. Hey.
Get out on your front foot and punch and Judy, baby. Let's go.
We either got to get the eyes checked or we got to open them.
Goodness gracious. How big was the zone?
Keep your eye on the ball. We got to hit the ball a little bit.
How many bunts did we lay down?
Not enough. Never enough.
Hey, it's funny. Real quick. Yesterday, our field's kind of flooded a little bit because of all the rain. So we were vastly limited in everything that we could do. And one of the things that we had on the agenda was some bunting practice. Not something that we've done a ton of over there at Covenant.
What kind of coaching is this?
Okay, well, we're not. Look, we'll handle it. But I was like, hey, we haven't necessarily needed to use this, but we're going to into a little bit of a tough stretch, so we might have to lay one down.
Yes, you will have to lay one down, Hamby. It's high school baseball. Don't get on your dang high horse and be stubborn about this.
Hey, I don't call the signs. I'm the pitching coach.
You want me to get on, coach?
You want to hand me a free out? I will take it every time. Hey, we're good at our PFPs.
Hey, one of the things about the bunting in high school baseball, if you don't do it, you probably don't practice it, which means you can't field it either.
We're the opposite. We do the PFPs, but we don't bunt a lot.
So, we're not going to make this whole show about bunting, are we? No, we're not.
We're not.
Those were a couple of the games. And by the way, interesting, I know some of the softball games that we had in the area got rained out as well. I like early in the season, team scheduling really difficult. in some parts, and I know that's not always the case. Can't always have those every night, but like take Bartram Trail, they were off to a good start in baseball. They went down and played Spruce Creek. They didn't play a good game. They got beat up pretty good by Spruce Creek, but that's always like a good matchup.
Yeah.
I saw Middleburg's been beat a couple times on the softball field. They're one of the best teams in the area, but they, I think, lost to Trenton and I want to say Brantford. I think two pretty good programs there. Baldwin softball has already lost a couple of times, but they lose to Middleburg on a walk-off grand slam, and Columbia, who's one of the best teams in the area this year from what everybody's saying. Really hard to tell you who's the best team in the area 3-4 games in, but you love these early matchups where you get some of this. I'll give you a couple other shout-outs, because we might in the power poll too, but I think Episcopal's off to a nice start.
Yeah.
Done a nice job over there, and you continue to hear good things about the program. Maybe we'll visit with them. I'm talking baseball here, but I actually think Episcopal softball loses Grace Jones, one of the most dominant players in the area, one of the best players in the state of Florida, and they're battling. They're doing it a different way, but they're battling and winning some games as well. So, again, early in the season, we're trying to still feel it out and see what's out there, which means you get some teams beating up other teams, and we'll see how it goes. A lot of teams have gone up to Georgia in baseball and played like the Florida-Georgia battles. And I know, obviously, like Creekside comes home this week. I'll tell you that. I know those guys obviously pretty well. They play Lincoln tonight, who's very good. Lincoln, who has also beat St. John's Country Day, beat Clay already this year. And they're supposed to be loaded despite losing like Miles Bailey to FSU. He's the freshman first baseman playing for FSU. And then Creekside plays Trinity tomorrow night. So Trinity, Creekside could be good. We'll see. And Trinity's, they won 2-1. Gosh, now I forget who they played on Friday night. But they won a 5-2 game and a 2-1 game. And I love that because we know Trinity's the best team by far on paper, yet it's baseball. And so they got to bring it every night, and that's the point. Their lineup is North Marion. Their lineup is loaded, and I'm not familiar with North Marion this year. I don't know if they've got a big arm or something else, but 2-1 game. So I think it's I just love that about this part of it, that you can have a loaded team, and it's not like you're about to go put up 12 runs a game. In high school baseball. So if you have some more scores or more good games, those share them with us as we continue on with the show. I know Coach Geiger's going to get in here in just a moment, Hamby, so keep an eye out for him as we will head over to Inglewood High School shortly. All right, we haven't even got to the is there burnout topic, which we'll get into with Coach too and get his thought, and we'll be able to work this topic throughout the show. And my guess is there is burnout, but let me just lead with something. I want to be almost like politically correct here. Like, I don't believe in as much burnout as maybe everybody else does, because I've never really seen it up close. And I've never really experienced it. And I'll give you an example. Like, I may have experienced it that I don't even know. And what comes to mind, like, I used to swim. So I played baseball and a lot of other sports too, but I did swim competitively. And swimming's a tough sport. Like, swimming's hard. Like, it's hard. It's early morning. It's a lot of stuff. And I swam. And at some point I knew I wasn't, like, going to be going to college to swim. But I still swam in, like, high school, stay in shape for baseball seasons, the way I viewed it, all that stuff. But when I got done swimming, my last time in high school, like, I can almost, and this isn't factual, but this will give you an idea, I feel like I can count the amount of times I've been in a pool since then. Which is really weird, right? But I'll genuinely say, like, I really don't like going into a pool and swimming.
You got a pool at your house?
Which is really weird for somebody who grew up swimming since I was like 4 years old and competitively.
No pool at the house, Brent?
I don't have a pool. No. But we have, like, the community pool, and I never go.
Right.
And, like, the kids will always want you to go swimming. Like, even my little, like, I really don't want to get in.
The community pool is a dying breed anyway.
Yeah, it is. But I don't know if that's, like, a sign of burnout for me, or, like, this, like, subconscious feel of, like, man, I did this. I don't want to get wet anymore. Like, I don't want to be in a pool. I don't know. Like, I don't think about it like that. But when you bring up this topic, I feel that way. I'm going to give you something else, and this is the politically correct part of it, right? Of burnout, or incorrect part. I think what people don't want to admit about burnout is something I just said about myself when it comes to swimming. I thought when I was a kid, like I was pretty dang good at swimming, actually. And then I realized by the time I got to like 13, 14 years old, I wasn't that great. Like I was okay. I could be competitive, but I wasn't great at it. And I think that's the time where a lot of people quit the sport. Mm-hmm. Because you either go focus on something else or you're like, I'm not as good as I thought I was. And that's the reality is. So what I always ask people when they talk about burnout is I'm like, okay, are they burnt out because mom and dad? Are they burnt out because there's too many practices? Are they burnt out because they're trying to keep it up with the Joneses? Or are we afraid to ask the question, did they burn out? Did they get out of the sport not because of burnout, but because they realized
lack of success?
They weren't that good at it anymore. And I know that that sounds harsh. And by the way, that's life.
Like, especially sports.
That's okay. But do we confuse that with burnout? Is where I go down the burnout train. And this was, I think, Coach David Klein, I think it was, on Twitter, right? And he brought this up like this week. I saw it on Twitter. And there's a whole thread on this that I probably could dissect even more. But this point was there are more people quitting baseball before high school than whatever. And he labeled it under burnout. And that's where I'm like, I don't know if that's factual. Mm-hmm. I think when baseball gets more difficult is when you get to the high school level, the bigger field. And he did note some of those things. But he never really asked, at least that I saw in that thread. I think I saw a lot of the thread. Did you ever ask the question or it's just not good enough anymore?
I actually had this conversation, Brent, with someone the other day. It was a mom asking how to best prepare her son for middle school. And I said that this is my thing. This is why baseball, you flare out, all right? Because you're playing 11U, 12U baseball in the small field, and you've got a bat loaded with tennis balls, and you hit 50 pumps, and you hit 650, and you rarely ever get out. And even when you do, half the kids at that age, and I'm saying this because I coached at that age for a while, were shocked that we got out. You still get that. Kids that are legitimately on their faces shocked that they got out, shocked that they strike out, and they've been inflated, most off by their parents or parents' friends, or they're treated like celebrities nowadays. And then next year, they're on the big field at 13U, and everything that used to be a home run is now a pop-up to the shortstop, and they're hitting a buck 25 because they're using a bat that's, to them, twice as heavy. And we're like, what in the heck happened? And that's it. Like, that's half of it right there, is because we went from thinking that we were going to go to the big leagues to I can barely get on base anymore. Our confidence is crushed, and we have not been set up. And that's not on the kid as much as it is the coach and the parents. Your sixth graders, they should be told, hey, this year's going to suck. You're going to hit 150. Yeah. You might hit one double all year if you're good. If you barrel something up, it might not make it out of the infield. That's okay. You have to temper your expectations, because otherwise, they're just going to look inward and be like, I'm terrible. There's no future for me in this game. People quit when they don't think there's a future for them.
Yeah, and again, I don't want to go harsh with the word quit. I'm not calling anybody out for it. I just think, like I just tweeted this out, and I said, I think sometimes the kid realizes it before the grown-ups do. That, like, yeah, I'm not good at this. Like, I don't want to be good enough to work at it to get to that stage. And they don't want to communicate that part because it does feel like they're quitting. And that shouldn't be it. That shouldn't be looked down upon, I don't think. I mean, sometimes you reach your peak, whatever that peak is. Always have said this. I really tried to say this to my wife. My kids had really, like, out of the blue, like, good freshman years. Nobody expected. And I would tell her right from I was like, do not expect this every year. This could be the finish line. And you have no idea where the finish line is, like that peak moment is in your life or sports life or your kids or whatever else. And I just think that's real. Now, of course, we wish and hope and all the rest, and you want to keep ascending. But I'll give you one other personal story. One of my kids in my family probably hate me for this show. But and we're going to get Coach Geiger on. Coach, appreciate you hanging for one more minute. And we'll continue to talk about this topic. But like, I do feel like we all live through these experiences. And so Ty, his junior year, I mean, he couldn't buy a hit. Like, it was unbelievable. I actually sat there all day. I was still to my grave say, I thought he swung the bat pretty well that year. I thought he had pretty good at bats. I always look at it as are you having a quality at bat or not? I was I thought he had good at bats. His average was trash, man. It was not good. I was holy cow. And I remember that one time in that spring, just one little conversation, because we didn't talk about it a lot. He doesn't talk about it. I was hey, you feel all right? Yeah, okay, good. And I remember him saying, because he played golf too. And at that time, you start to hit the golf ball farther. He didn't play golf for school, but just like we would play golf. And he was playing really well. And I remember him specifically. It's funny he ended up at Flagler to play baseball because he specifically said, hey, what do you think I'd have to shoot to play golf at Flagler or Division II golf? He said that to me one time.
Uh-oh.
And I was I remember him saying I've never had this conversation with Ty. I just remember that conversation. I was just this ain't feeling good. You can tell. And by the way, if you played ball, you've been there. You know it. You battle that. That's part of the game. That's what makes baseball great, in my opinion, in so many respects. But you see my point? He wouldn't burn out. I mean, he loves the game. He's still playing the game. He loves being around the game, loves talking the game, all that stuff. But did some of that doubt go in yeah, maybe I'm not going to be more than 100 and whatever pounds, and I'm not going to be able to hit it 360 past that outfielder that guy just keeps catching easy, all those kind of things. There's nobody to stop the golf ball. I don't know if he even thought that way. I don't know. I always remember that conversation. And that's what goes back to, it's you said it, man. If you don't have the success, you lose a little bit of that oomph to do it. Mm-hmm. And then is there just a sincere reality check? That, hey, I can't. I mean, down here, I said this earlier on our show today. I played college baseball. There's no way if I played today with the skill set that I played with then, I would make a team. I would not have played college baseball. I don't even think I was very good. I just think the talent is so much better, especially down here. But the talent is so much better.
A lot more specialization.
Yeah, than it was. That I would have got squeezed out of that deal, no doubt. Forget about even the rules and everything else. But if I played in this generation instead of 30 years ago, going to college, I don't think I play. I really don't. I genuinely believe that. I thought Ty was better than me as a baseball player when he was 13. He wasn't big enough to be better in that strength department, but I got a reality check on my game. I was just okay. But I was still okay enough to go. Now we can't even get good players to college here in the area, which is what we try to do on the show. All right, Lee Geiger, I hope you don't have to go teach a class or something because I've been keeping you for a while.
We're good.
Sorry, I had to get all through that. We're asking about burnout. Do you see it? How do you feel about it? Is it a real thing?
It's an interesting question, and I get from a different, viewpoint because my daughter is a gymnast, and those guys, they're 5-6 days a week all the time, and she practices all the time, and then they only have 5 meets the entire year pretty much. And I think you see it a little more maybe in gymnastics once you get to level 9. I'm going to take this back. Kind of what you were saying was they find out they're not good enough. You can't get to that level 10. So the kids, it's not as much fun and they drop out. And I remember one of her coaches saying, we just got to get her level 10. We get her level 10, you're going to be fine. And now she's level 10 and she's, taking off, and it's awesome. And I think it's exactly what you said. I think sometimes, they're not good enough. And then it's not fun, especially with baseball, a game of failure. Nobody likes getting out all the time or striking out or, not pitching well. So, yeah, I kind of agree with you with that it's more of an ability issue than a burnout issue.
Yeah, and by the way, I don't want to discount the burnout issue because I do think moms and dads can really wear on the kids. I think the travel ball and the amount of time those are real stories too. So I'm not discounting that. That doesn't say that some kids don't fall in that trap. I just think when we have this conversation, we're afraid to also ask that next level question of what you just referenced and I just referenced. So, and I don't know the solution, by the way, of we can't help every parent, right? I mean, we're not going to do that. You definitely can't do that, even though you probably would like to in your world over the years. And we also, right now, I don't know if we can stop the system that is ball, which is hey, you got to also play travel ball or anything else, or you feel like you're missing out, getting behind, and not going to be able to keep up with the Joneses. That's just a reality. We know we don't love it all. We know the doctors say don't throw all year round, but the college coaches keep telling us this is the only way to get there.
The travel ball thing's an interesting, I don't want to call it a dilemma. I think, the summer you should play, but I do think the fall, do something else. My personal opinion, still you can throw some and hit some, but I try another sport, try a different muscle set. You look at Napier at Florida, all his quarterbacks were baseball players. They're dual sport athletes, and I think that helps out possibly with the burnout situation also because, you are playing multiple sports. You're not doing the same thing every day.
Yeah, Coach Ripley, by the way, jumps in here and says, I tell our kids that it's the only time in your life you can play every sport. Go play everything. Football to basketball to wrestling to baseball to track to lacrosse. Go do it. And that's probably a topic for a different show. I do think a lot of the multi-sport stuff is often spoken about, but is it received as well as it is said is a fair question. And we can get into that sometime down the road. All right, Lee Geiger, I didn't even congratulate you on a great start to the season, by the way. Very nice start. 5-0 until last night, and you had a heck of a game against Bowles. That looked like a good baseball game. I could only tell on Game Changer. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
It was an awesome game. It seems like every time we play Bowles, it's one of those, great games. And, with me and Coach Bell, we actually coached with Coach Boswell, back in '99 when we won the state title. So there's that little rivalry there also. But last night was just one of those games you love being in. Every inning there was something. There was a great play, a great pitch. Unfortunately, in the 12th inning, they got the timely hit that we didn't get. And, we each, now with the pitch count situation, you have to manage your pitching a lot different. And, we threw 4 guys. I think they threw 4 guys because we have games later this week and you can't burn a guy out, but yet you still want to win. So you're battling that whole dilemma there. But it was just an amazing game, great game, both sides. Unfortunately, one of us had to lose.
Yeah, and how big of a win, just out of curiosity, would that have been if you did get it? And I know that's out of retrospect now, but to beat Bowles, Duval County Public School, would that have carried a lot of weight for you guys?
It carried a ton of weight because I think sometimes the public schools feel, I don't want to say inferior to the private schools, but, we see the Bowles on their shirt. We know what their school's about. We see all that. And, sometimes you got to tell your kids you're just as good as them. But it would have been a huge win for our program, absolutely. One we'd like to get, but we get them again later this year. And, hopefully we can come out on the winning side.
Well, part of that game, by the way, Dom Petruno started that. I think looked good again. He's really your star player. He was a committed to the uncommitted guy last year, and good to see him headed to Flagler. I think they got a really good player around here. He comes off a good summer, and looks like he's off to a great start to this year. So maybe you can speak a little bit about Dom, but you have more than Dom is my point. I think even from the outside looking in, Coach, I'm like, okay, I know that name. And do they have anything else is what I ask it. Well, it looks like you guys got a lot more than just Dom Petruno.
We currently have 4 guys committed. Ethan Anderson and Brian Cartaya are committed to New River Community College, and Tito Guerrero just committed this past weekend to Southeastern Community College, and then Dom obviously at Flagler. Another thing to talk about maybe on another one of your shows is just how the portal has changed recruiting for baseball. It's just such a different animal now, and just to find a roster spot is really what you need to do, and I'm so happy for those guys.
Yeah, you're right. It is it is hard. It is really hard, and that's why we started our Committed to the Uncommitted program, and who knew we would be here? We thought it was just coming out of the pandemic. It's only getting harder for a lot of these guys. What will Dom do at the next level? Will he have a chance to do both, pitch and hit, or what?
They have told him he has the opportunity to do both. I think they're probably going to be more on the pitching side, but if he goes up there and proves that he can hit the college pitching, I don't see why he wouldn't play both, because he has the talent to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. But your season, you started with a win at Nice. That seemed like a big one, 6-3, and then beat Mandarin, and then you've just really whooped some people now. Yulee, Riverside, Christchurch Academy before the Bowles lost. You got to be really happy with the start, including 4 shutouts in a row, and you've only given up 4 runs in 6 games. Did you expect this out of your staff?
I knew we could pitch a little, but I didn't know we'd pitch this well. Just the way Ethan and Dom and Tito, have thrown this year, and Ranzis Venero, a sophomore, who's actually our catcher, has pitched 2 of those games and has actually pitched outstanding also. But yeah, we are definitely pitching heavy. The bats right now still need to come around a little, but we're going to win on our pitching and defense. And if we can pitch it and field it, we should be all right.
Give us a little bit of a history lesson here for people that are new to the show. A lot of people that know baseball in Jacksonville know Inglewood and what a history it is. For you mentioned the 99 state championship team that you're part of the staff. But, your players, we could run down the whole list of players. I think some people know from Murphy to Myers to Moore. Rasheem Mathis, by the way, whose first love is baseball, but also played football and then the NFL. But after that, after the state championship, so for the next 20 years, you've been around this. What's Inglewood baseball been like, and are you back in a spot right now, these last couple of years, kind of where you want to be?
After, I'd say, not to disparage some of the teams in the mid-2000s, they did win a district title in 2014, but we just haven't had the talent that we used to have in the late 90s, early 2000s. And the school has changed a little. We're now predominantly an ESOL school. I'd say we're probably on a 50, 60% Hispanic. And a lot of these kids are playing soccer. We had a total of 25 kids come out this year for both teams.
Wow.
Where past we would have up to, 30 and 40 back in, those early 2000s, late 90s. Now we're in a good spot this year. We'll be rebuilding a little next year. So we got to let this one ride out and do the best we can. But, we just don't have the feeder system that we used to have. Southside Middle was an incredible feeder system for us. And unfortunately, like the statistics you put up earlier, kids are just dropping out of baseball. And they're moving to St. Johns County or, different places. It's kind of what we're battling now.
Yeah, gosh, we could hit on so many different topics that have been addressed that in my little one sheet there that I gave everybody. But do you kind of look at it as a little bit of an unfair game right now for some of the schools in Duval County versus whether we are talking about the private schools, which that's maybe a separate conversation, or even places like St. Johns County or Clay County or others? Do you feel like you're almost playing a different game?
To stay politically correct, yes. And the rules now with the open enrollment have changed everything, and we are at capacity. So we're not allowed, if a kid even wanted to come to Inglewood, we can't get him in. But say a school such as Mandarin, who's below capacity, can get in basically whoever they want. And I'm not disparaging Mandarin in any way, but those are facts. So yeah, it is more difficult for schools that are at capacity as opposed to schools that aren't, and you can get basically anybody you want in. And then you're battling the private schools too, and I don't blame a parent at all. If my daughter was a softball player and she had the opportunity to go to bowls, well, who wouldn't want that, with the education and all that. So, it's a double-edged sword that we're kind of fighting, but yeah, I do think it is an unfair playing field, but, you got to do what you got to do. You can't whine about it. You just got to go out and play and do the best you can.
Yeah, and this is going to be a topic probably for down the road, but I'll get you on it anyway. I thought about this recently. I said a lot of times people think like maybe some of your favorite teams and things are like that 99 team that wins the state championship, and there's a special bond that comes with winning most of the time. Usually it's not a team that didn't like each other very much that ends up winning big like that. Now, it can happen if you're that talented, but not usually. But I also think from a coach's perspective, sometimes your favorite teams are teams that quite frankly aren't that good, that you feel you got a lot out of them. And you probably have experienced the gamut, right? I mean, do you find that some of the teams that you coach that might not have the best of records was really one of your favorite teams to coach?
Speaking of that, when I took back over the program, what was it, 21 or 20, the year after COVID, we were 2-18. But, it was a good group of kids. We battled, and I did like that team, whereas opposed to, maybe a team in the mid-2000s that was more talented, but we had some issues with, some personality differences and some parental issues, and it just doesn't make it as fun. So, yeah, I totally agree. If you can see kids, just take our JV, we're not very strong, but just watching them make strides, just the kid that can't throw a strike that's finally throwing a strike, or the kid that's never got a hit finally gets a hit, or the kid that hasn't caught a fly ball like the Sandlot, holds his glove out and the ball goes right in and we all get excited. Those are special moments, and sometimes those are more satisfying than beating some teams. So yeah, I totally say.
Yeah, that's kind of the root of coaching at the end of the day, and I would think that we're even with every team where you are right now on February 26th versus where you're going to be on April 28th is really part of the fun of coaching, and so that doesn't change, and sometimes gets dramatically better with some of the teams that are actually not that good. So there's a cool element of that. Hey, you've got some pretty good ball coming up too. Baldwin, who's seems like they're very good. Then Fernandina Beach and St. Augustine right after that, an Atlantic Coast team that looks all right too. So it's a pretty good stretch. You're going to find out a little bit more about what you're made of.
We're definitely going to do that. We stepped our schedule up now with the new, I don't know how you say it, the new playoff system where they do kind of like that old school BCS thing. You got to play a tougher schedule, and you can't play all cupcakes or you get penalized. So we definitely stepped up our schedule, but also thought that this team could handle it. 2 years ago, no, we couldn't have played this schedule because they were all sophomores and we were learning. But now, hey, let's go play with the big boys. Let's see what we got. And come playoff time, hopefully we'll be in there and nothing will be new to us. We will, seen those arms and stuff.
That'd be great. Lee Geiger, by the way, you didn't know this, but we were getting you on the show, and I appreciate you coming on even after you lost that game. I was kind of thinking of it yesterday. I was like, oh, if they win this one, this is going to be a good conversation with Coach. Going to be excited about it, but you should be excited about the way your team's playing. 5-1 start. Good luck in the next couple of weeks and obviously the rest of the way. And you are our Coach of the Week, by the way, here on No Gate Fees. So we're going to send you a $100 gift card from Perfect Rack Billiards. So maybe you can take the staff out. You probably won't take Boswell out after that loss, though.
Yeah, maybe not. Maybe I'll call him and say, hey, you kind of helped me with this since you didn't, beat us 10-0 or something like that. But he'll definitely get a call.
Hey, appreciate it. Thanks for the time and the insight, and good luck to the Rams the rest of the way.
All right, thank you so much.
That is Lee Geiger and our Coach of the Week here on No Gate Fees. That one presented by Perfect Rack Billiards. $100 gift card to the coach. By the way, Perfect Rack Billiards, winner of Folio Weekly's Best of Jacks for Best Chicken Wings, Best Sports Bar, Best Pool Hall this year. Food and drink specials every night. Open for lunch Friday, Saturday, and Sunday now, so go check it out. And baseball fans, they've got the MLB package. So make sure if you're an out-of-market team and fan of that team, you can go watch it at Perfect Rack Billiards.
We might have to do another topic of how hard they are making it to watch your favorite team.
Yeah, well, that's only going to get harder now.
Goodness
we don't know
gracious.
where Major League Baseball is even landing, right? So that will be interesting. Speaking of Coach Boswell, I don't know if you have some reaction, but it's his birthday today. So Mike Boswell, happy birthday to Coach, the Bulls head coach. And also, he's going to be a topic of conversation for the next hour on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network, which you can find right after this show, actionsportsjacks.com. If you're watching on social media, you won't be able to see that. You have to go to actionsportsjacks.com, Action News Jacks app, or Action News Jacks now on your smart TV. You can watch it on Google TV, Apple TV, all the rest, Roku, all of that. But he is joined by Josh Baker on a show that we call After the Game, presented by Baker Sports, also a partner here on No Gate Fees. Here's a little clip from what to expect from Coach Mike Boswell.
All right, so coaching Brett. We all know Brett, the singer, the big leaguer, the personality he is. How was he in high school?
He was awesome. He was very, very intense. I mean, everything he did was hard. I mean, he brought a different level to these guys because he had more energy than anybody I'd ever been around. He didn't have a great body when he first got there, and his dad and him really turned that body around. I mean, he was when I first met Brad, we were in junior high at Southside Middle School. Short, pudgy kid, and you saw that arm and went, wow, that arm really works. And then, he kept growing, getting bigger, stronger, and he really turned, when he was a ninth grader over at Bowles and turned that Seriano and working with Seriano. And like I said, his dad was a trainer and really got him into great shape. And so, I mean, he had a battery that, never turned off.
That's Mike Boswell with Josh Baker. That's called After the Game, and you can watch it for an hour about the road to where Mike Boswell has led, which is, I think we just celebrated 500 wins. Was that last year or 2 years ago now? And also another birthday for Coach Boswell. More on Brett Myers and that relationship and that story, but obviously a lot of other players over the years. And a nice tie-in today with Inglewood, and they played each other last night. So good timing on that front, if you want to check it out after the game. Really, those conversations are classic. In fact, unless it didn't misspeak, and I'll have to check with Brett on this, did I not realize Brett went to Bowles at some time and then went to Inglewood? Mm-hmm. No, but I wasn't just sure. I'll have to check on that because he made it sound like that, right?
Yeah.
That his freshman year at Bowles. I didn't know that part, but I want to make sure that Coach wasn't misspeaking because now he's at Bowles and he really meant Inglewood. But I'm not sure. So I'm going to have to check that out. But he won a state championship and was on the Inglewood Rams team in 1999 before making it to the big leagues. World Series champ, of course, with the Philadelphia Phillies. So that is that. Our Coach of the Week, by the way, Lee Geiger, presented by Perfect Rack Billiards. And appreciate Coach for coming on and talking about the Inglewood Rams. You have any more thoughts on the burnout? We continue to weave this throughout. I thought Coach was good on that. Again, I have no problem with the burnout conversation. I do think it's a real thing. I'm not trying to dismiss that. I also just think the layer to this conversation is sometimes we don't have this part of the conversation, that it can also be, all right, well, the kid just realizes before you realize that I'm not going to thrive at this. You said it good, right? Success. When you fail, and this is a failure sport, it's not easy to handle, especially when you fail like you haven't failed before. You don't see a light at the end of the tunnel where you could be really good. David Klein, just to go back to him on Twitter, Coach David Klein, I don't really know much about him. He just put this out there, and it's a whole thread. Mm-hmm. And he said for some of the reasons why he thought people were moving to other sports before high school outside of baseball, they were going from baseball to other sports, was the graphic. And he says most kids play, he said basically the bigger fields happen too quick. So you go from that small field to the big field, and the game really changes. Like, it really changes. Georgia actually does it, I think, the right way. I think Georgia does this.
Intermediate, yeah.
They do like a 54-80, right? Mound's 54 and the bases are 80. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like a bridge to get to that next. I'm a big advocate of that. In fact, I'm such an advocate of that I would go 12 and 13. I would take the kids off the field at age 11. I think the Little League World Series is the goofiest thing of all time. You got 13-year-old kids bunting it over the fence, and we think it's a freaking awesome event. Like, come on. Get those kids are bigger than me that are playing. And it's a joke. And not to say some of them aren't good at baseball, but
and the strike zones don't help.
It's a joke. Like, if you really watch that from the purity of like watching baseball, and I know there are a lot of other great elements to the Little League World Series, but we celebrate that thing and put it on ESPN for like 2 weeks, and there are literal check swings going over the fence, right? Like, is that bad? I think it's bad. Like, I don't think you should have 13-year-olds playing with those bats on that field. So I actually have always said for the last decade, I think you should lower that Little League World Series age to 11 being the max. Mm-hmm. Because really you're going to get 12-year-olds. Right? We actually would play. We had our Coach Rick, he's the best. When the kids were playing, that year when they were 12, he would not play in some tournaments based on the field or maybe even some of the competition. And by the way, we had a pretty decent team. Like, we weren't afraid of competition. He was purely concerned about the safety of the kids with the bats. And I think it's a real deal thing. Like, you get some of those big 12-year-olds, man, swinging that bat, that trampoline bat. Yep. It's dangerous. So why don't we switch at 12 and even 13 and go to that 54-80 diamond And then we can get to 60, 90 at 40. Because, to be honest with you, nothing happens at age 13 that is significant. That's my other lesson to you, parents. Like, 12 years old feels like you're about to go get college scholarships and be in the big leagues, right? And it does. People think that. At 13, it doesn't matter. Like, nothing matters at 13. There's never been a 13-year-old kid that anybody's like signing them up for high school, signing them up for college. Like, I don't even think Perfect Game cares about the 13-year-old. They don't even try to get your money.
Well, they still try to get your money.
Well, they do try to get your money.
They try to get
Do they rank
money.
13-year-olds? Because, like, it's hard to rank. So, anyway, David Klein brings that up. Man, we can go on tangents on this show. Like, or I can, like nobody's business. 13, 14, he says, move the field size. Strength, arm care, and skill training need to start before the jump, because then you start to experience that in high school and everything else.
Yeah.
So that's different too, right? You're not just going out there, rolling out the ball and playing. When you get to high school, it's like, it's not a job, but it's definitely more intense about how you got to keep up with body types and get strength out of it and everything else. So, what else does he say? Pressure and burnout are real. Arm injuries in youth baseball skyrocketing. Of course, you get hurt. That sucks.
Yeah.
Kids pitch year-round with no breaks. That's stupid.
Yep.
Travel ball tournaments push 5-game weekends.
No, I don't think travel ball is the issue.
I don't. I have a hard.
Travel ball 12 months a year, maybe.
It's so funny. The show is called No Gate Fee, so it looks like a real target on travel ball. I'm not like. I think there are a lot of great things about travel ball, and I would just say parentally. And I didn't have a pitcher playing baseball, but I would say we always thought getting 4 games in a weekend made the weekend.
Right. If you got 3, it wasn't worth it going.
3 wasn't worth it.
Right.
Like, you're paying too much to get 3 games out of it. Now, is that warped on our own mind? Maybe.
No, if I'm going to travel, take out my whole weekend, get a hotel, pay for 5 dinners, I better be getting more than 6 ABs.
Well, that's the problem, right? Well, and also minimizing rosters at that age is easier to do than it is like, then you get into the heavier stuff and you got a 20-man roster on the travel ball
we can have
stuff.
a whole about these guys.
Well, that's 15, a different show.
16, 17.
That's a different show. So he says this. I'm just going to finish this part because this is the burnout topic. And by the way, I do think this fits for baseball, softball, and a lot of other sports, because all sports now have this. Like, this isn't just a baseball thing. All sports have this. It's all year round. There's always something to do. And by the way, there have been many sports for decades and decades that have been year round. Like Coach just mentioned, gymnastics, dance, cheerleading. Like, those things have been even before baseball and other sports, I believe. Mm-hmm. So he says, how do we fix it? 4 months per year of no competitive games. 4 months. 2 separate 6 to 8 week periods of no throwing. Track pitch counts nationally. Kids should be in a database. Interesting. Tournaments need stricter pitching rules. I do feel like people have gone to pretty good pitching rules.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they're strict enough. I guess that's a fair argument. And just because a kid loves to play doesn't mean it's good for them. I get that. You got to protect them from themselves sometimes. You do have to do that. So I didn't hear you, Hamby. What? It's 250. We got to get rolling. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
You can say that live on air. It's okay.
You told me we were getting out at 255.
I know. We made a hustle, huh? Let's go with I can't believe it's already 250. This show flies by. We're going to have to go to 2 hours.
Well, yeah. Good luck.
All right. Here's a private school high five.
Got a number 5.
Yeah. So what do you think? Like, I'm trying to think who I booted out of here.
You booted Providence.
I did. Listen.
No, that's okay.
There are some things here, like, I can't tell you exact reason. Like, it's a little, like, even Bulls beat St. John's Country Day, but kind of when I made this, they were about to lose, I thought maybe to Inglewood. I think there was a runner on second, nobody out for Inglewood in the top of the 11th or something.
Should have bunted them.
I think they tried and didn't. But Trinity, Snyder, off to a great start. And St. John's Country Day right there. They've lost to Bowles and Lincoln, I think, have been. So we put Bowles back in. Like, I almost bumped Bowles out. I almost had Episcopal and Providence in here initially because Bowles lost to Fletcher 9-2.
Yeah,
that was a weird score.
That was a weird one.
That was a weird score. And listen, I don't expect these teams to have to be perfect to stay in the poll. But if they had, that was going to be a weird back-to-back loss, right? Fletcher and Inglewood. I don't think anybody would have saw that coming. So give me a little bit of doubts right now about Bowles where they're at, but we still got them in the top. And Episcopal, again, doing a great job. Off to a nice start. The only team they lost to was Jesuit and out of Tampa. So always good. Okay, what else we got? Public school. Okay, always tricky. Here's what we've got. We've got multiple counties represented. Proud of that. Tocoy Creek. Clay lost again. Clay's lost to Lincoln, and he just got beat by somebody. Oh, Providence.
Clay, yeah.
They actually were up on Providence late, and Providence came back and won. Inglewood, I got in 3-hole. How about that?
5-1.
Baldwin right there, and they go up against each other tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow. Yeah, yep.
And then Fernandina Beach is good again, man. Sneakiest team in the area. People forget about them up there at the beach. For years, they're always, man, they'll battle you, and they'll beat you. So we got Fernandina Beach in there. Okay, how about the softball side of things? This one got a muddy. Baker County's been doing all right. Columbia jumps because of a win over Baldwin, 6-3. Middleburg has actually lost a couple of games against that good competition I was mentioning, but they beat Baldwin on a walk-off grand slam. You know, I came really close to getting Baldwin out of it right now, but I still think I just have a hard time doing that a couple of games into the season because I really think they're one of the legit teams. And I actually bumped Fleming out in favor of Creekside because Fleming hasn't really played anybody. And Creekside put 32 runs up in 2 games. It was a lot of hits. And a win over Mandarin on the road. And Mandarin's always good and competitive. So, again, I can't sit here and tell you like I've got great defense for a lot of this stuff. But
as we get further on this,
we'll get more evidence soon enough. And we do feel like in the softball world, there's a little bit of haves and have-nots right now in the softball world. So we'll see if that shakes out this season. All right, Committed to the Uncommitted, presented by Nimnick Buick GMC. And here's the write-up from Coach on Cole Rusak. He's a catcher for Mandarin High School, and he's a senior, by the way. So we'd love to get these guys out there. And Coach told us about him and says this even more. He's a senior. That's our Swiss Army knife of a player. Has played all over the field for us the past 2 years. Catcher, third, second, outfield, but primary catcher this year. He'll be a valuable utility guy for someone at the next level. Has the clutch gene, in quotes. If a runner is in scoring position, you want him up to bat. High motor, high IQ, and allows for him to get the absolute most out of his ability. If we had 9 Cole Rusaks in our lineup, we would be a better ball club. First guy in, last guy out kind of guy. Loves being at the yard. Hey, you know what I call that, Hamby?
Lunch pail.
Intangibly rich.
Oh, wow. Elevates the ecosystem over there.
Yes, he does. Cole Rusak. He is our Committed to the Uncommitted from Mandarin High School. Hope he has a great senior season, and hopefully we get him a little publicity and get him out there to get looked at by coaches so he can find a home. You know that's going to be later and later in the game for sure. Hey, UNF baseball goes to Florida tonight. FSU baseball at JU baseball tonight. So we got some good ones in town, and we got some good games coming up this weekend as well. I think we're out of time, right? Did we get all the important stuff in? We didn't get to Action Sports Jacks on campus, but hey, we'll get to that. Shout out to Allison Benning, by the way. If you want to watch some softball in the area, go watch this young lady play. She's one of the best in the country, and she plays at the University of North Florida. That's No Gate Fees here on a Wednesday. Thanks for watching, everybody. When it's time to get a new car for anyone in your family, just remember, nobody but Nimnick, the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville. Get the latest price breaks on 2023 and 2024 models or the newest 2025 vehicles in the showroom on Phillips Highway or shop online at NimnickBuickGMC.com 24 hours a day. GMC Sierras, Yukons, and the redesigned Acadias, or get the all-new redesigned line with Buicks. It's nobody but Nimnick, and part of the reason why is this is a first-class buying experience here at Nimnick Buick GMC. You're not just a customer, you're a friend. This is about getting a vehicle that best fits you and getting you on the road, and also helping you and your family down the road. Nimnick has a treating you right guarantee, courtesy, respect, fairness. The most Buicks, GMCs, and Jacksonville's only Car Bravo dealer, nobody but Nimnick. Who has put in the most years and stands behind a better experience? Nobody but Nimnick. GMC. We are professional grade.
2024 provided plenty of memorable moments for the Jacksonville Armada on the pitch, including Another conference championship game appearance for Tommy Krasanovich's under-23 men's team.
They sit in the dying moments.
Debuting this year for the first time, the girls in blue, as the Armada fielded a women's under-23 side in the WPSL and made its presence known with some highlight moments.
Potential goal of the season.
Then attention turned to the future, with MLS Next teams representing the Armada badge in 3 age divisions this fall, including an under-19 squad ranking among the best in the state. Those teams are a big focus on Fleet and Footy, covering the big soccer stories each week on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
I'll put one in the back of the net for you.
Join us for player profiles, fun interviews, and the very latest on the Fleet and all things footy. That's every Thursday at 2 p.m.
I've been telling you about CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing for a long time now. Their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We've had a Connecticut water softener and drinking water system in our home for more than 7 years. You can see the difference whether you're washing clothes, the dishes, or what I like to do most, fill this up for some coffee every morning, and mostly all day. Remember, if you're not filtering your water, you are the filter. Don't be the filter. Right now, you can save $500 on a Connecticut Premier Softener and get a free Connect Salt Monitor with purchase. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Connecticut water treatment solutions so you can improve it. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. Ask about our 90-day love it or leave it guarantee. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Connecticut dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
There's a saying in sports, you can't win them all, but you can win a lot with good folks on your team. Like that one painter, First Coast. It's tough to beat the sun in Florida, so your home fades. It's tough to beat that HOA when they come calling. Beat the sun, beat the HOA with that one painter, First Coast. And it's a good time to do it. Less rain to work around, and painting in mild temperatures is perfect. After all, the paint bonds to the surface so much better. Give that one painter First Coast a call at 904-417-3557 or look them up at first-coast.thatonepainter.com. Fast estimate, guidance on color and HOA requirements, and the highest quality job you'll find anywhere. Be a big winner in your neighborhood with that one painter First Coast on your team.
When it comes to trucks, I know exactly what I want. And at Bozard Ford, they make it easy to get exactly that. Let's go make this truck a little more my style. With Bozard Built, I can create my perfect truck right here. Lift kit? Check. Premium wheels? You bet. Advanced lighting package? Oh yeah. The Bozard team works their magic.